This is the Saturday Morning Serial Podcast with your host, Amanda Ann. Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Serial. I'm Amanda Ann, and today we are reviewing the second installment movie of the Suicide Squad franchise, which is now in theaters and streaming on HBO Max until I think about the end of the month. And just a warning, there will be spoilers in here. I am joined with my pal Freddie B. Trumbull, who has been on here before. Freddie is a musician, and you can check him out via the links in the description. And please give him a like, subscribe, etc. if you do click on those links. Suicide Squad is written and directed by James Gunn, with whom you might recognize from Guardians of the Galaxy. He is a big comic book fan and really brings some of these characters from the comics that kind of hang out in the background and or aren't that heard of much into the limelight. Immediately, I thought this film would be great, but we'll get into it. It stars Margaret Robbie, reprising her role as Harley Quinn, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, and John Cena as Peacemaker, just to name a few of these characters. And no, there's no Joker or mention of him in this film. So, without further ado, let's get into this discussion. All right, so the beginning of this movie, it was just kind of like a diversion. Pete Davidson has a character called Blackguard, and like him and Harley and another like just this team. It kind of reminded me of Deadpool in a way, where they're on the plane and they like jump out of the sky.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that in Deadpool. They did. Okay, yeah, that reminded me of that too.
Yeah, and then Pete's character is like he just like gets them caught, and
Yep.
you're like, what? And
And
Harley
then he has like
survives.
his he has like his arms up trying to sell them out, and just like no.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just like such a like just right at the beginning of this movie, I'm like, wait, what? But like
Hmm.
Harley's the only one that survives, so I was like, is this movie just gonna be like Harley trying to like figure it out? But
That's
then
what I
there's a
thought
flashback.
too. Yeah, until I saw the flashback. Yeah,
Yeah, so then there's a second group that's formed, and it consists of Idris Elba, who I thought was probably the best in this movie. I mean, Margot, she was awesome as Harley Quinn, like always. But
hmm
as far as like the new characters go, I think Idris Elba, he carried the movie for the most part.
Oh, most definitely. He was like something fresh and new, and just his acting and his also his the leadership his character had. He definitely carried the movie.
Yeah. And then we have Shark Man, who I thought was hilarious. I thought he was kind of cute.
Oh, you mean King Shark? Yeah, King Shark
Yeah.
was cool.
King Shark, thank you. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then Polka Dot Man.
Oh, Polka Dot Man, that hurt me, but I'm not gonna spoil anything in the beginning, but
Uh,
that hurt me.
yeah. Oh, I know. I know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And Freddie, do you remember what the girl's name was?
Ratcatcher 2.
Aha, there we go.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the team that's formed in this prison. And
Oh, what don't forget Peacemaker too.
yes, of course, Peacemaker, who
Hmm.
is actually getting his own HBO Max show.
He is.
Yeah.
I wish they would have gave us like a Rick Flag show. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, Rick Flag show or like a Bloodsport show. But I guess that can work.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Like I would definitely like to see Bloodsport.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like a little more background on him. Cuz I feel like too, and I said this in my intro, Freddie, that James Gunn directed this movie, and he's all about the like background characters in the comics and brings them to the front. So I feel like with
Yeah,
these
yeah,
characters, like you have to know that they're from like what they do in the comics.
yeah. Because he always said that he when he was growing up reading those comics, he always loved the background villains and heroes and stuff. So that's why he wanted to bring them to the front. So
Hmm.
I can respect that.
Yeah, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy, and now they're huge,
Hmm. Hmm. I was about
especially
to say
Groot.
that.
Yeah, especially Groot. Everyone loves the Groot.
Everybody loves Groot.
Yep. But yeah, going back, I mean, these actors, they, I felt like they did the best that they could with these characters. I
Oh yeah,
especially
most
like,
definitely.
yeah, Polka Dot Man. He was actually like you could sympathize with the character.
Yeah, you can sympathize with pretty much everybody on the team. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't understand Peacemaker, but I know some people who are like in the military and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I get why he's the way he is.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, and, like, I just yeah, you can sympathize with everybody. So they kinda make up this dysfunctional family in the end, which is very interesting
Hmm.
because you got these, like, hard ass
Yep.
guys, people,
Yep.
women that are in this jail, and then they just, like their character arcs do grow throughout the film. So that was good to see.
Yeah, especially Ratcatcher and Bloodsport's relationship.
Yeah. And then the plot, like, and this is going to be interesting because Freddie, you really liked the film, and me, I wasn't too nuts about it. So, but I felt like there was just a lot of unnecessary violence and gore that really didn't work with the story.
Oh, so you don't like a whole lot of gore, do you?
I mean, it's to the point where like I laugh, like the
Uh
Saw
huh.
movies and all that.
Uh
Like,
huh.
I'll start laughing because like it gets ridiculously kind of like fake to me. I don't know. Like, there's just some movies where the gore is very realistic and it kind of freaks me out, but then it's
Okay.
like when it's just like over the top, like in this film, it's just like, come on. Can we just
so
like get
which
to the story?
what scenes like made you like feel that way? Like what like gory part made you feel that way?
Definitely the part where they kind of get to where they need to go and then they just like start killing like all the village people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then it's like they were actually the good guys and they were like, "Oh."
Yeah, that part kind of I was 50-50 with that part. I was like, for you guys to be like assassins, I would I would assume you guys would know whether or not these people are your enemies or not. So now you just go inside a random camp and just start killing people, and now you're doing it for like fun because you know Peacemaker and Bloodsport having a whole like competition almost. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but then on the flip side, I'm like, okay, I know it's an action movie, and you know these are like uh, villains for hire, so they probably don't really care. So
You know,
I
that
see what you
that is
mean though.
true. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true though. You brought up a good point. How like, yeah, these guys are villains. They're in prison obviously for killing people. So they're gonna kill people when they're let loose.
yeah. 'Cause I'm pretty sure if it would have been like let's say Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman or whatever, they would have like told them to like stand down and stuff like that. But then again, if Zack Snyder was directing it, then no. So never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, definitely. So, Freddie, who do you think the antagonist was in this whole film?
Ooh, honestly, I think the antagonist were a lot of people. I
Yeah.
think the main antagonist was the government and Amanda Waller. To be honest,
Mhm.
because I mean Starro, that's also one of my favorite like DC villains. He's like also kind of creepy in a way, but we get to that later. But I think the main two villains were antagonists were Amanda Waller and the government.
Yeah. I was having a really hard time trying to pinpoint like who the antagonist was and what was like driving the team to get to where they need to be. So yeah, I definitely think the government was like, and just goes back to sympathizing with these characters, how the government is just playing everybody, whether you're good or bad.
Exactly,
They're your
exactly. They all
you're their
yeah they just
pawns.
use yep exactly pawns in there in this big game of chess. That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Hmm. Yeah. So that covers that. And Harley Quinn, let's get to her.
Oh, here we go.
No, she is. I thought she was like the light of the show. Like Idris Elba, he obviously he carried. I felt like the group, the movie, like the action sequences, like the story as a whole. But then I felt like the parts with Harley were like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it kind of took like you said a breath of fresh air. It kind of took a break away from like the gore and the main storyline, and you got
Hmm.
to kind of sympathize with her and see what's going on in her head. Because in the previous Suicide film, um, they didn't really touch bases on all the characters like that. I didn't really truly like connect with them like that. So when I saw like Harley like talking to that one king or whatever, and she was telling him about how she always chooses um bad men in her life and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll never forget Freddie. Like when Freddie and I were in class together at Governor State
Hmm.
University,
Hmm.
and I think the Suicide Squad came out when we were like in school. So
It did. It
I
did. Yeah, it did.
remember I remember Harley and Joker being like the big deal.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
remember like one of our classmates saying like, "Oh, all these girls want a relationship like Harley and Joker," and it's that's fine if you want to get like beat around and stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think I remember that
Yeah,
conversation too in class. She was saying how if you want to get beat up and abused, if you knew
yeah,
like the true backstory of Harley and Joker, you wouldn't want to be that. But you know how bad
right,
people
right. And that kind of like stuck through my head with like every single like film I've seen Harley in, like Birds of Prey, especially with her. She was just so hurt, and she was just trying to like as everyone would do with a broken heart, you just try to survive,
are. I
take
guess,
every
or just
day.
kind of work it out, take
Yeah,
baby steps. I guess, yeah.
in her own way. I mean, she's Harley
Mhm.
Quinn. She's
Mhm.
batshit crazy. So,
Well, obviously, but yeah.
yeah. And in this film, we do kind of see a little light in her, like what she's feeling deep down.
Mhm.
And she lets all that aggression, I feel like, out with that
Mhm.
king. And but she survived. She's
Yeah.
a survivor.
And especially her, I think her action sequence too, when she was in the hallway, like killing all those soldiers, that was like the perfect amount of like, good cinematography and like, a little bit of gore. But they didn't do too much gore when she was killing those people.
Yeah, I like that part. I did like all the parts she was in because
Yeah.
I enjoy her. She's hilarious.
What? Oh, one question. How do you feel about her actor or her actress saying that she might take a break from playing Harley?
I don't know. Like it's crazy because I feel like we've just had a lot of Harley this past year, and I feel like they can expand more on the character. I feel like Harley is just one of those characters where you can just keep making stories. It's kind of like Loki in a way. Like you can just keep making
Yeah.
stories out of Harley.
Mm-hmm.
You can take her here, you can take her there, and it'll work.
Yep. Yep.
So
That's a good reference. Harley is like another Loki because Loki
yeah.
even do the same thing.
But if she wants to take it, it'd be kind of good too. Like make these like let these movies marinate because they have come out so fast. For like
Hmm.
Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey, and I felt like there's no breathing room between Birds of Prey and this movie. You're still
Yeah,
just trying to process
honestly,
Birds of Prey.
I didn't really like Birds of Prey. I thought that
Same.
was like all over the place, just like the studio just decided one morning, let's just make a Birds of Prey movie. Do we have a
Yeah.
script or a plan? Nope, we're just gonna shoot something, and
The
that's literally what
only
it was.
right, the only like excuse I feel like they had to make that movie was just to get inside Harley's head. Harley's mind
Mm,
is a scrambled egg mess. So the movie is going to be a scrambled egg mess.
honestly, I think Birds of Prey would have been better as a TV show rather
Yeah.
than a movie.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Well,
that was the problem, but we'll
yeah,
never know now.
right. With streaming services, I mean, anything's possible.
That's very true, especially HBO Max.
Mhm. Yeah, and just the story in general, I just felt like was very slow,
Mm.
and the buildup was just kind of underwhelming to me. Like with the,
Yeah, it was. It was.
because I mean, obviously it's just like any other. I felt like any other movie. The government's hiding some secret project that you have to uncover, and at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the tunnel, there's just something massive and big. Just
Mm-hmm.
happens to be a squishy starfish that multiplies 80,000 babies and sticks to everyone's faces and takes over their body.
Yeah, like a glorified face hugger from Alien. That's what it reminded me of.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just kind of like I felt like too it was a little too much to have like the babies taken over the human bodies because there's only like so many, but they got him in the end. I guess like the fluid of the action sequences in the movie, how they fight, how this group of Suicide Squad people fight, they fought the same way with the little baby starfish. It's just so fast and they got like combat skills and everything. So, it worked, but I didn't like the monster, I guess.
I thought I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was like kind of ridiculous. I'm like, we got this, serious, group, and they killing people and stuff, and now the government's been hiding a oversized, starfish, alien starfish. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
I thought it was ridiculous, but I thought it was kind of cool in the same way. But also, it was like a Justice League episode. No, I don't think it was Justice League. I think it was Batman Beyond, where they had Starro in the episode, and he would like put those little starfish on like the new Justice League, and it became low key kind of like creepy, like kind of like horror in a
Hmm.
way. So I respect that. I like that reference, but I agree with you. It was kind of ridiculous for them to fight a super huge starfish.
Aesthetically, it worked with
Oh
the
yeah,
look and feel of the
yeah.
movie. I mean, I do have to give him that
Oh yeah, and they
because when you
built
think,
like a big star roll like in Japan or something like that too.
yeah, like when you think of the Suicide Squad, like the first movie really set the look and feel of the films, like with the bright colors, the neon,
Mhm.
the
Mhm. Even the costumes too.
yeah, the abstractness of like the costumes and the makeup. So, I mean, the starfish, the color of it, it worked with the film.
Yeah, 'cause they could have just made the starfish like look like Godzilla, like
Yeah.
or be like gray and just real like bland and stuff like that. So I agree with you on that one.
Mhm. Yeah.
But question: did you catch what the starfish, what Starro said when it was about to die?
I did not.
It said when it was about to die, it was talking to like the humans it had infected, and it said all I wanted to do was look up at the stars.
Oh.
Yeah, because remember the government took starfish from space. He was just in space, just like relaxing. They just took him and just like started
Yeah,
experimenting on him.
right. And that just, concretes our opinion that the
Mm-hmm.
government is the antagonist
Yep.
because they're even picking people off or picking things, creatures off different planets for their own selfish
Mm-hmm.
greed. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh god.
Yep. That's real life right there.
Yeah. And that's just it. You can even like a movie like this, you can just sympathize again with the characters and the story and just think like it's the government. Everything's the government.
That too, and then also all the suicide members are trying to like get time off their sentence for something they did, but they're still like human at the end of the day.
Right. Exactly.
Hmm.
Especially like Bloodsport and his daughter,
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
That was very yeah, like people can probably relate to that.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of how Deadshot was with his daughter in the first Suicide Squad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Peacemaker because he's going to be getting his own HBO Max show.
Okay, here we go.
So, I didn't understand him, honestly. I mean, I kind of think he was just kind of thrown in there to be a component, a rival of Bloodsport in
Hmm.
the group, just so
Hmm.
they can. And I did feel like they kind of bounced off each other pretty good
Hmm.
in order to get the job done.
Hmm.
But I mean, I honestly I wasn't a fan of the character because I
Yeah.
felt like I don't know if you feel like this, Freddie. Maybe I missed something with him, but I didn't feel like he had a really good arc. I just know he's like, I want peace and I will kill anybody and anything that gets in the way of peace. But they didn't really explain anything more except he's like this macho, arrogant man.
Yeah, that's why I think I'm gonna give it a chance till we all see the HBO Max show that he has to pass judgment on him. But I pretty much thought the same thing. I was like, bro, I don't know anything about him. And then
Hmm.
um when Amanda Waller was explaining like who he is, she literally said the same thing that she said about Bloodsport. I'm like, so they're the same person?
Right.
And everybody in the theater was like, yeah, so who is this man? So I
I
agree
mean,
with you on that one.
yeah, and I can see like they wanted to introduce this character in this film to get people ready to watch the show so they're not going in cold turkey with the show. But I just felt like he didn't work with this movie.
No, yeah, he was funny, especially when what did he say? He said if this beach was filled with something, I would literally eat everyone in the
Oh,
name of peace and for America or something like that. I'm like, bro, really? I'm like, come
yeah.
on now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're trying to be good but you're really bad.
Exactly. And did you hear what Rick Flag told him when they, had that situation when he was like, Peacemaker? He was like, what a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah, exactly. I felt, and then I'm just gonna get to Polka Dot Man, who was my favorite
Oh, that was my like third favorite. Yeah.
because he has major PTSD about his mom, and he has a really interesting history that he
Mhm.
explained the reason why he fears his mother
Mhm.
and how he got his power of
Mhm.
vomiting polka dots on people. So, but yeah, he does have a tragic ending. He does get killed at the end, and that really hurt. I'm like, what?
I'm glad.
Why
I'm glad he
him?
went out on a. I thought the same thing, but I'm glad he went out like feeling like a superhero. He
He did.
literally yelled that,
Yeah, that was a great part because it felt
and
like at least one of those guys felt like they changed in the end.
yeah, I was about to say the same thing. And it also touched basis on too how parents can turn their children into something they're not because of
Hmm.
trauma. Because she was
Exactly.
literally working at Star Labs and wanted all her children to be superheroes, and she messed them up mentally and physically. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's just another message there. It all is about the parents, how the parents raise their children.
I'm pretty sure we all have like some form of trauma or something that we
Right.
got scarred from our parents. Not knocking them because I love mine, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, same. But, there is that thing where you're like, "Oh my god, like my grandma's going to kill me if I do I'm
hmm
31 years old and it's like I do something and I'm like, "Ooh, my grandma wouldn't like that." But then it's like I'm a grown ass woman, like I you
Oh,
know.
for real? No, that you always will be a child in your parents and relatives' eyes. So I feel the same way. Like I'm
Yeah.
grown as hell, and I'm still feeling like
Right. Oh, my
a
dad's
child
going
in
to
this
kill me if
situation.
I do this.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
But we definitely got to have a moment of silence for Polka Dot Man.
exactly. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Polka Dot Man.
And then the last character I really want to talk about is King Shark.
Oh, I love King Shark.
He was so cute.
Yeah, I love King Shark.
How he was like gonna I love how he's like hungry and
Yes.
he reminded me of the hawk. The way the hawk talks like hawk trains, hawk like fire.
Yeah. He reminded me like the Hulk and a combination of Groot too, like both of them
Yeah.
together.
Yep.
And there was so many times I thought he was gonna die, and I was like, please don't kill King Shark. And I was
He
like, I
was
feel more yeah, yeah,
indestructible.
yeah. They shot bullets at the only thing that pretty much got King Shark hurt was those little jellyfish things that was in that tank. Remember
Oh,
that?
yes, that part was so sad because he just wanted to be their friend.
Yeah, and they just started attacking him. I was like, that's low key kind of creepy.
It is, yeah. I felt like I think I just awed at that part. I was like, oh, like he was like genuinely wanting to.
Yeah, because he said in the beginning when they were in that forest that he didn't have any friends, and they were like, "We'll be your friends," and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, friends." And
Hmm.
then that was also a beautiful scene when King Shark was in the aquarium and he saw those things for the first time, and they were like
Yeah.
following him around and dancing and stuff. I was like,
Oh
okay, that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like this whole movie. Like I didn't like it was entertaining. I didn't like
hmm
hate it, like raging hate it. It was just the story was just kind of meh for me. But they did have their good parts, and that was one of them. I really liked the aquarium part.
So if you can change like three main things about the movie to make it like even better, what would you do?
Well, that is a very good question. I didn't think of. Definitely more Harley.
Okay.
I felt
Okay.
like because she's a big draw for these films,
Okay.
and I felt like there wasn't really enough of her. Like she had her own little side story going on.
Okay.
Like she got taken captive
hmm
and like was intended for this king, and then she obviously kills him and gets
Oh
all
yeah,
in her
she
Harley
smoked him
world.
quick.
Yeah, but I felt like there should have been just a little more Harley, and she seemed like she was like buddy buddy with all of the Suicide Squad. And
hmm
I would like to have known like how she, I don't know, more of their relationships to like with her like in prison maybe, and like did they
Oh,
have like a like a history in prison? Like were they all like kind of a badass group that played poker together or something?
I agree with you on that one. I agree because you can tell that she had like pre-existing conversations with like other people in the actual prison. So I
Mhm.
feel like a good scene with them, like I don't know, cleaning together, or like you said, playing poker, or even cooking in the kitchen, or getting in a jail fight together, that would have like brought a little bit more, I guess, love to the story. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and I think another thing too I would is more background on some of these characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Weasel. That was
Weasel
one that
was
was
hilarious.
introduced right at the beginning and it was like who, how, where? We were
All we
just
know
pre
is that he ate like a bunch of children.
Yeah. It's like all we get presented with these characters and there's really no history, like no backstory. The audience, like, I'm not too familiar with DC comics. So a lot of these characters, I was like, who? And I had to like look them up and or like my boyfriend had to tell me who someone was. So yeah, just
Maybe that's their niche. Maybe they want to like to have people look up the like the D list, C list villains of DC Comics, so you can expand your horizon. I don't know, but
that's
I
true.
still feel like they could have put a little bit more of that backstory in the movie. I agree with
Hmm.
you on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those are just kind of like my top three things. Just more background, more and then more of the things that you market, like Harley Quinn and
Mm-hmm.
but in the end though, Idris Elba, he was marketed because he's a big name in Hollywood. And I was
He's been
actually
getting a
really
whole lot of
excited
roles lately too.
yeah, I was really excited to see him in this film. So he had a lot of screen time, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's basically like because they said that they're not replacing Deadshot. Like he's gonna come back, and hopefully, I definitely want to see Deadshot and Bloodsport in the same movie. I feel like they make a good team,
Hmm.
and also it'd probably be funny when they first like meet each other. But they were trying to they were basically saying like how Bloodsport is like the new Deadshot.
Hmm. Yeah, and that just brings me to one of my last points here is like the DC comic films and just Warner Brothers in general. Unfortunately, like with Wonder Woman 2 especially and their films have been just kind of flopping in the
Oh,
box
especially the
office.
second Wonder Woman. That was
Yeah, I didn't my first episode of this podcast was about Wonder Woman 2 and kind of came in at a negative note cuz it was like I just didn't like it.
Oh, I gotta go listen to that because Wonder
Yeah.
Woman 1984, that was horrible.
Yeah. I was like so excited for it to be over. But
You were excited for it
anyway,
to be. Oh man. Okay.
yeah. Season 1, episode 1, go ahead and go back if you're listening and re-listen to that. It's a
I'm
good
about to do
one.
that once we're done with this one because I gotta hear what you think.
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, these films have been flopping whereas like the Marvel films have been reaching these new heights. So they're going like I said, we got this Peacemaker series coming up on HBO Max with streaming and I
Hmm.
just hope, I mean, they're trying. And the films they have their good moments. They have like their differences and you can easily pick them apart and it's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
And I mean, unfortunately too, if you look online, all the headlines talk about how this film has tanked at the box office with 26.5 million just on opening day in the theaters. And I just feel like
Also,
though with the Delta variant going around,
hmm
that
hmm
could have like a major impact on this film because if you look on like IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, the ratings are really good.
yeah, that thing got like a 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and also you
Mhm.
got to think about it too. HBO Max is stopping people from going to the theater as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just it. Everyone, I mean, we streamed it. And especially now, if you get the option going forward to stream these films instead of going to the theater, especially if you just pay like I think HBO Max is like $6 a month or maybe a little more, maybe a little less. We get it
Hmm.
free with our AT&T internet.
Hmm.
So, instead of paying 25 to $30 to go to the movie theater, you can just watch it in the comfort of your own home just with your monthly subscription.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I don't know how
Yep.
I'm still trying to figure out how views are calculated with the streaming services because you have this whole ordeal with Disney Plus and Scarlett Johansson going on.
I was going to ask you about that too. I didn't want to
Yeah.
talk about anything Marvel, but yeah, I was going to ask you about that too.
Well, it kind of goes in hand because in a way, this movie is kind of getting a reputation on the internet. How, like, one article was like, it's a box office failure, it's a box office loser, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
Mm.
is it really though? Like, because then I went on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and I mean, the ratings are pretty good. The comments are really good, the reviews. So,
I think they're more so focused on the money aspect of it.
mm-hmm,
When they got to think about this too, it's not even out of the theaters yet. Like it's only been like what, like 2 weeks since it's been like in theaters.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, so that's even more revenue coming in. Um, plenty. I saw the theater was full when we went to go see Suicide Squad in the
mm-hmm.
theater. So they got to think about that as well. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and the fan base for, especially for Harley Quinn, is major. You go to Comic Con, and there's so many people dressed like Harley
Hmm.
throughout the years. So I
Hmm.
saw one too at the theater dressed like Harley.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's a big deal to some people.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of like young girls and even women love Harley Quinn. So
mhm.
I agree with you on that one.
Cuz there's not a lot of like, I mean, there's women villains out there, but they're not as like, I don't want to say relatable, but lovable as Harley.
I think it's both. Not
Like
saying,
she
yeah, not saying like it's gonna be like you relate to her like in every way, but I
mhm.
think it's a little bit relatable and a lovable aspect too.
Yeah, she's playful and very colorful
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
around.
Stands up for herself, strong. Women need to see
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like a big fan, but I do like Harley. So, I can see that. Freddie, what was your part or your favorite part of this whole movie?
Ooh, okay. Let me think. Cause it was so many parts. Um, okay, my first favorite part was when Bloodsport and his team arrived on the beach and how they kept like showing like what was happening like with like the environment, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Like it was like an explosion like in one scene, and it was like letters like in the form of like the explosion. I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah.
um yeah,
Oh,
that was a
yeah,
good way
yeah.
to like transition through the scenes. um My second favorite part was when Weasel fell out the helicopter. 'Cause I was talking to my friends. I was like, he's about to drown. And they was like, why you think that? I was like, he's about to drown. And as
Yeah.
soon as he hits the water, he's just like, oh, 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 oh. I'm just like,
Right.
okay, he's dead. And I was just dying laughing.
Yeah.
Um, my third favorite part was when um, Peacemaker is about to kill Ratcatcher 2, and Idris Elba just inadvertently just comes down through the ceiling and just lands there and just
Yeah.
looks up and then shoots the bullet at him, and they like collide or whatever. That was my third favorite part.
That was a good part.
Yeah,
And I'm
and
glad you
then
brought up those transitions because as a graphic artist, I love those.
same,
It's so good.
same. Yeah, I need to learn how to do that because that was like beautiful.
Yeah, it's all in the
Um,
keyframing.
yeah, and then my last favorite part was when Bloodsport was just like, I don't care if you like, blow my head off, Amanda Waller. I'm about to go save the world because this is wrong.
Yeah.
And she just like going off. She's like, no, stand down. And then her team just
Mhm.
smacks her with the golf club. That's like hilarious, man. So yeah, those are my favorite parts. What about
Yeah.
you?
Definitely the aquarium part with King Shark. I really
Oh
liked
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
liked when Harley Quinn just was a badass and killed everybody
With the
just in her
flowers
own
behind her.
her Harley Quinn. Yeah. But yeah, I really like Harley when she's just fighting and just being badass, and yeah,
Yeah.
she's holding like a big bazooka.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love when like, especially like in the former movies when she's just holding this like weapon that's like just as big as she is.
With ease too, like just
Yeah.
just slinging it around and using it like it's nothing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this podcast episode. And go see it and let me know how you liked it. I feel like this movie is just kind of a love it or you hate it type of thing. I really don't think I personally haven't seen anything that was like in between. But yeah. Check out Freddie's social links. I will link them in the description in this podcast. And I will talk to you guys next week. And thanks, Freddie, for joining me.
Hey, no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
All right. Everyone take care.